Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be reading chapter 2 of the You're Not Broken book. And I'm going to be using ship lighters for my classic cigars. Castella. Going to be basically, for the next week, reading a chapter a day of this book, and then I'm going to be moving into some proper deep work. And it's fucking awesome, so enjoy the journey. Chapter 2, The Creative Energy. In this chapter, I will focus on the science of how this process works. If science is not your thing, don't worry. Read with an open mind. I have kept it light, and I promise you don't need a PhD to get through this. The new science of quantum physics and unified field theory is finally catching up to what religious and spiritual teachers have known for thousands of years. We are far more than blood and flesh and bone. This science can help explain what we witness every day when working with the superconscious. Until now, biology and physics were based on views created by Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics. Everything we believed about our world and our place within it reflected his ideas. Newton presented the theory that all the elements of the universe are isolated from each other, divisible, and wholly self-contained. He created a worldview of separateness. For Newton, the material world was made of individual particles of matter that followed certain laws of motion through space and time. The world was composed of a load of little, discrete objects which behaved predictably. In his view, the universe was just a big machine. The most separate of all was the human being, who sat outside of this universe looking in. The problem with his theories is at the quantum level. They do not reflect what we observe. The theories make sense for the big things, like animals, planets, and solar systems, but do not hold up at the subatomic level, which is what the big things are made of. Somehow, we have one set of rules for the big things and another set of rules for what they are made of. It just doesn't sound right, does it? Luckily, many well-respected scientists all over the world have been carrying out well-designed experiments, and the results fly in the face of current biology and physics. Together, these studies offer us copious information about the central organizing force that governs our bodies and the rest of the universe. Science is catching up. What has been discovered is wonderful and confirms what many of you know to be true in your heart. At your deepest, most fundamental level, we are not chemical reaction, but an energetic charge. This pulsating energy charge is the central engine of our being and our consciousness. Because of the field of quantum physics, science is able to prove many of the ideas that spiritual masters have been teaching for years. In fact, many of the founders of quantum physics were very interested in spirituality and obsessed with using science to validate it. We are finally bridging the gaps between science, spirituality, and what we observe in our physical realities. It is all very exciting. We can prove there is no me and not me, duality to our bodies in relation to the universe, but there is one underlying energy field. This field is responsible for our mind's highest functions, the information source that guides the growth of our bodies. It is our brain, our heart, and our memory. As Einstein put it, the field is the only reality. You, me, and everyone else on the planet start out the same. We are a creative energy. You are not just a body, you are not just matter. You are so much more. You are so much more that you The you that is the most you is invisible, not physical, non physical, and more marvelous than you might imagine. If you remember science class, you know humans and all of our physical reality is made up of atoms. The atom is composed of electrons and a nucleus, which consists of protons and neurons, right? Atoms are extremely small. They are so small that accurately predicting their behavior using classic physics as if they were tennis balls, for example, is not possible due to quantum effects. So, if we are made up of atoms, what are atoms themselves made of? This is where it gets interesting because the truth is they're nothing but energy vibrations. An atom doesn't even exist as we know it until it is observed. If you remember the picture of an atom from science class, you will remember an image that looks like a solar system. This image is only partly accurate. Before an atom assumes that position, it is first in a state of unlimited possible variations. It is only when we look at it or try to measure it that everything inside the atom assumes a fixed orbit. Before that moment, it is nothing but a probability cloud of all the possible orbits it could be. Yes, you read that right. What we are made up of, the base of all matter, is a cloud of probability that doesn't tremble it doesn't resemble fixed matter until it is observed or measured. For those of you who want some science, here is a brief description of amazing research that will allow you to see a new reality. British physicist Thomas Young conducted the famous double slit experiment in the early 1800s. In the experiment, he shot a light beam the width of a single photon at a wall with two slits in it. As you would expect, when one slit or the other was covered up, the electrons hit the wall after passing through the single slit and registered an imprint on the photographic plate. The pattern suggested the electrons was behaving like a particle. However, if both slits were uncovered, the single photon appeared to somehow split and go through both slits simultaneously. This created an interference pattern on the film that looked like white and then dark vertical lines. This pattern was similar to what you might expect when a series of waves are added together. For example, imagine you are pointing a fire hose at a fence with two vertical gaps in it. If you hold the hose still, you will see the two lines of water coming out through the gaps. However, if you wave the hose, some of the water collides and will cause a different result to come out of the other side, because it is a wave. All of this is relatively obvious, except when you learn what happens next. When Young observed or measured the experiment, the photons behaved differently. As the paths of the photons shot from the beam were measured or observed, the pattern exhibited a distribution on the photographic plate that would be expected from a particle. However, when no one was looking or measuring, it produced patterns that were wave-like. So, the inescapable conclusion was that the act of observation caused the photons to behave differently than they did when no one was watching them. For this reason, Thomas Young stated the physical character of light was said to be observer dependent. Electron, gun. Electron, double slit, observing screen, interference pattern. Just reading the words from a diagram, which you probably need to see. Get the book and you'll see it better. In 1927, two American physicists, Davison and Germer, expanded on Young's experiment and demonstrated that electrons showed the same behavior, which was later extended to atoms and molecules. I hope you caught that. The pattern and behavior of atoms, which you are made of, are dependent on conscious measurement or observation. At the subatomic level, you are energy that exists in a field of possibilities, and you will stay that way until the act of observation or measurement from consciousness collapses it from a wave of possibilities to a measurable particle. It all depends on your ability to maintain focused attention. Physicists at Princeton University and York University set up an experiment to find out if human consciousness could change how a light particle behaved. Participants were asked to observe light traveling through a double-slit experimental setup with their mind's eye. The possibility of any physical contact with the setup was eliminated. On the chapter before, not that you can see, there was some added notes. So I will repeat. Physicists at Princeton University and York University set up an experiment to find out if human consciousness could change how a light particle behaved. 1. So it says at the bottom in the notes. Ibison, Michael, and Stanley Jeffers. A double-slit diffraction experiment to investigate claims of consciousness-related anomalies. Journal of Scientific Exploration, 12, number 4, 1998. 543-50, and then there's a link to the website, which is all numbers and codes. Researchers at Princeton University used subjects who had experience maintaining focused intention in these types of experiments. This experiment found that visualization had a small but statistically significant effect on collapsing the wave function. The York University experiment, which used a random group of subjects, did not find a significant effect. In 2012, a team of parapsychologists led by Dean Radin conducted a group of 6 experiments on consciousness and collapse of the wave function. These experiments found that the results depended heavily on the selection of the subjects. When experienced meditators were asked to see the path of quantum particles in their mind's eye, wave function collapse was slightly more likely. The results were statistically significant. Odds against chance were 107,000 to 1. However, non-meditators were not effective in creating wave function collapse. Results of these studies, along with the earlier ones in 1998, were published in peer-reviewed psychics journals. This is an interesting area of research, and hopefully more experiments will be conducted on the issue. Radin, Dean, Lena, Michael, Carla, Galdames, and Paul Wendland, Consciousness and the Double-Slit Interf pattern, 6 experiments. Physics Essays, 25, number 1, June 2025, blah blah blah, 157 to 71. Just notes on the journals and the books which certain bits of this information are coming from. What do these experiments show us? If at a fundamental level you are a field of unlimited possibilities or a stream of photons held together by consciousness observing, then you should be able to change the observation. After all, aren't we the consciousness observing? If so, couldn't we simply change the observation of our base structure and change our complete reality? The answer is yes. This is exactly what we see during a superconscious recode session. We connect to the essence of what we are and change the instructions or observation. Lucky for you, we have a shortcut that doesn't require years of meditating. I've seen people go through recoding and regain eyesight after decades of being blind. I've witnessed lifetime stutterers suddenly speak with confidence and diabetics who no longer need insulin. The transformations are amazing. Back to you, the self-conscious, unconscious, and superconscious fields. You are so much more than a body. You are an energetic charge that vibrates at a certain frequency in a unified field of information. You are a part of the universe, one song, looking back at itself, experiencing a certain perspective or viewpoint. You are the field, and you are an individual perspective. You are both. You are the wave of possibilities that has collapsed into a certain set of information, a body, identity, psyche, that now enjoys experiencing and interacting with other aspects, perspectives of the same field, other bodies. You are the all, the one mind, and you are also unique. However, your unique perspective was created as an aspect of you, and then it created a set of instructions. If you are not enjoying your current perspective or experience, we can go back to those instructions and create a different code. In my work, I have found many fields of information to be important. However, when it comes to understanding who we are, there are three classifications of energy that help to make sense of it. These three classifications are your self conscious, unconscious, and superconscious fields. You may use different names, but here is how I classify the three. 1. The self conscious or ego defines itself through thought, an identity, a body, a name, and has a lifetime. Its goal is to live the best life possible. 2. The unconscious or subconscious defines itself through feelings, creates programs, and runs the body through automation. Its goal is to keep the system going, and its desire is to continue with what has been working, no matter how painful, to the self conscious. And 3, the superconscious defines itself as a code of information, has unlimited knowledge, and cannot think or feel. Its goal is to be involved in the creation. The unconscious is what guides. The unconscious is what guides all your decisions. Its number one goal is to keep you alive. If you are out of unconscious alignment, you will not be able to take the action your self conscious desires. This can be very frustrating. However, the unconscious just runs on pre programmed information given to it from the superconscious. Let me explain. Imagine a ship. The self conscious is the captain, barking instructions. The unconscious is the crew that makes things happen, keeps the ship running, follows instructions, and continues to build the ship. The superconscious is what the unconscious has available to use the information, tools, ingredients, material, and knowledge. The unconscious can only use what it is given from the superconscious. The superconscious has an unlimited amount of information. It can access any information needed. Remember the probability cloud. It is like the genie from Aladdin and can change the information and it can change the information in a heartbeat. This means that when you can connect to the superconscious, you can create whatever vessel you desire, travel to any destination, add or take away certain aspects/tools, or even change the ship completely. The superconscious is the real key. Many times the captain barks instructions, is annoyed the crew is not listening, and the crew shouts back because what the captain wants is not possible on the ship. This is why you must learn to reconnect to your superconscious. Every organic structure, including plants, the earth, and you, has a superconscious memory. There is a superconscious information code for each family, species, and society. The superconscious is the unwritten information guiding us. It is always there. The superconscious is a field connecting all who are in it as certain structure. This is why you see fish and birds flying in unison and migrating to the same place each year. This is why they arrive in this world in their perfect form, with set fears and behaviors. This is how multiple people can get to the same idea for an invention at the same time, and how a genius gets their inspiration. The superconscious is obvious in nature. We see the memory of information creating the same patterns, like the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio. However, it is not a spirit or God. It is a unique information memory field designed to help each structure live its fullest expression. The superconscious has a unique memory for each structure, species, family, and individual. In humans, it has been observed that a memory or traumatic emotion can originate from at least 7 generations in the past. This is so we do not have to relearn what can cause pain. However, the memory can work negatively as well. A client I recently worked with couldn't hold on to money, no matter how hard she tried. Therapy didn't work, and she was always broke. After accessing her superconscious, we found a memory/instruction from her grandmother who, because of being rich, was targeted in World War II, and her entire family was killed. The memory's message was money is dangerous. No wonder my client had such a problem with money. If you want to live your true fullest expression in life, you must have a working relationship with your superconscious. Only when you do, you can finally witness the coding for your fullest expression and recode the current information to allow much more satisfaction in life. You can connect to the superconscious of any instruction, and with its permission, you can change the instructions, memory, or coding it delivers to that entity. When you change the superconscious instructions that are given to a person's unconscious, a new reality is possible. I will bring new results. It will bring new results and brand new behaviors. Imagine adding a motor to a boat or removing an anchor. Both make a big difference. Without any pain or struggle, this change can happen in an instant, as you will see when you go through the exercises in this book. Two roles of the superconscious. At our highest level, we are superconscious awareness and have access to all the information in the probability cloud. The information available consists of genetic, familiar, familial, species, historical, and planetary information. The superconscious is the aspect of you that can connect to this information and has two main roles: instructions and insight. The first role of the superconscious gives your unconscious instructions on what to do. The superconscious is the part of you that was there before you were a body, and it decided what information was important based on a memory structure downloaded from your family, species, and the world. These instructions are easily visible in the behaviors or results in your life. When you connect to the superconscious and recode the instructions, you create new possibilities for your life. This is because the unconscious aspect of you drives your life. The unconscious field of information consists of the feelings, body systems, traits, fears, genius, and health you are allowed to experience. The unconscious takes the information it is given and reproduces it. The only goal of the unconscious is to create the vessel, body, and keep it alive. Again, you are an energy force and an observer. Your superconscious takes all the possible information in the probability cloud, also known as the unified field, and collapses it into matter, which is what manifests in this reality. The superconscious can access all information in the unified field of all possibilities and decides the instructions to give to the unconscious field. The second role of the superconscious is insight, which is the ability to connect to an inner vision of the future or past, or to understand the instructions given to another individual. This ability to gain insight from the field and then turn the ideas into reality is how we create a life we love, access our genius intuition, invent new realities, invent new ideas, and plan for the future. The problem is, most of us have never been taught how to predictably connect to the field, become superconscious, and get this insight. However, all humans have this ability. In fact, there's nothing we have that wasn't first created in our minds. You have the ability to become superconscious and connect to the unified field of information. You can see what is you can see what needs to be created in the future. You can access what is needed for other people. You can even connect to the same information as another. When myself or one of my coaches does the superconscious work, a client will work with a coach. The coach accesses their field to help with creating new instructions. Everyone has the insight or ability to tune into the field structure of someone else. It is easily witnessed in puzzling occurrences of simultaneous invention or multiple discovery. When two or more people have the same idea or discovery at the same time without knowing each other. A quick search on Wikipedia provides us with the following description. When Nobel laureates are announced annually, especially in physics, chemistry, sociophysiology, medicine, and economics, increasingly in the given field, rather than just a single laureate, there are two or the maximally permissible three who often have independently made the same discovery. Historians and sociologists have remarked on the occurrence of multiple independent discovery. In science, Robert K. Merton defines such multiples as instances in which similar discoveries are made by scientists working independently of each other. As Merton said, sometimes the discoveries are simultaneous or also or almost so. Sometimes a scientist will make a new discovery which, unknown to him, somebody else made years before. Commonly, cities fed up with my dyslexia. Commonly cited examples of multiple independent discovery of a 7th century independent formulation of calculus by Isaac Newton, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, and others, described by A. Rupert Hall, the 18th century discovery of oxygen by Carl Wilhelm Scheele, oh, thanks to him for discovering oxygen, Joseph Priestley, Antoine Lavoisier, and others are the theory of evolution of species independently advanced in the 19th century by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. What holds true for discoveries also goes for inventions. Examples are the blast furnace, invented independently in China, Europe, and Africa, the crossbow, invented independently in China, Greece, Africa, northern Canada, and the Baltic countries, and magneticism, discovered independently in Greece, China, and India. Multiple independent discovery is not limited to only a few historic instances involving giants of scientific research. Merton believed it is multiple discoveries rather than unique ones that represent the common pattern in science. Field of possibilities. This infinite field of possibilities is there for all of us and can be in many ways and can be used in many ways, which we will discuss in this book. You can use it to turn life into a wonderful creation instead of a struggle. Along the way, you will regain access to what you really are. Once you have mastered the superconscious code, you can connect to your superconscious to change the instructions that cause limitations, disease, or frustration, and you can access the unified field of information to gain insight into the future, help others, and access your genius gifts. When you remember who you really are and reconnect back to your superconscious awareness, life will be so much more enjoyable, fun, easy, and playful. You are not just your self-conscious ego, you are not your feelings or thoughts, you are much more. You are a creative energy. You are a consciousness that has observed or decided your way into existence. Are you ready to become super conscious? Are you ready to let go of the old beliefs that you are a body separate from the world and regain your connection to your super conscious awareness? Yes? Great. In the next chapter, we will discuss the individuation process so you can understand how you have forgotten who you are and why forgetting was necessary. You will learn to know thyself and understand why most of us have followed a predictable path. You will learn what to avoid and identify the old patterns that put you out of your truth. Chapter 2, Review. At a fundamental level, you are a field of unlimited possibilities, or a stream of photons held together by consciousness observing. You should be able to change the observation. You are so much more than a body. You are the one mind, and you are also unique. However, your unique perspective was created as an aspect of you that created a set of instructions. If you are not enjoying your current perspective or experience, you can go back to those instructions and create a different code. The three different classifications of consciousness are your superconscious, unconscious, and self-conscious. At our highest level, we are a superconscious awareness and have access to all the information in the probability cloud. The superconscious can access all information in the unified field of all possibilities and decide the instructions to give to the unconscious field. You're Not Broken, Chapter 2 complete. Stay tuned, tomorrow will be Chapter 3. Enjoy.